All right, everybody. So week two, we talked about putting in our scoring academy with Jimmy Harris and myself, Matt Sheck. So let's go over the fundamentals of a good putting setup and talk about short putts as we went over for the entire lesson. So when we're putting, a couple things to remember at setup is that you want to maintain the eyes over the ball or maybe slightly inside the ball. A good way to check your distance from the ball is to put a ball halfway between you and the hole and just get to where you feel like that ball is in one line to the target. Okay, if I get a little bit too much this way, that ball is going to look a little crooked, or I get a little too far over here. So setting the right distance from the ball, from the face on view, we always want to have that ball slightly towards the left eye or the front of the stance. That's going to help us be able to turn our head down the line and also be able to hit the ball a little bit more out in front of us and put a more truer roll on it. So that's kind of from a setup standpoint, ball position, that's what you need to think about. Now, when we talk about how to set up, feet about shoulder width apart, I like to think about having the elbows slightly folded, wrist on our deviated down, and bend from the waist to get to the club from here. That's going to put us into a position where we can rock the shoulders and also get that club to sit fairly flat on the ground. A lot of people have the toe up too much or the arms too straight and becomes a little wristy. So that's a good way of setting up with your arm structure. Now, when we talk about length of stroke, we want to maintain about the same distance back and through. We don't necessarily ever want to hit the putt and then accelerate. We want to have this pendulum stroke where we're going back and through and almost bumping the ball forward, not hitting it per se. So as we go to putt, we don't ever want to have a finish that's really high. That's going to make it very tough to control distance from a longer putt. So if I hit a putt here, I can feel this and get my eyes where I can see down the line, and then I'm going to putt that ball back and through. We want to talk about expectations and what is the right expectations when you get on the putting green. Are we supposed to make all those 12 to 15 footers, or are we just trying to avoid three putting? Well, the answer is we're always trying to avoid three putting and then make those short putts. A professional is about 99 point something percent from 3 feet and in. So if they get that first putt inside 3 feet, they're going to feel very comfortable making that putt. When they get out to that 8-foot range, they're only 40% or somewhere around in there. So as a amateur or as a normal player, it's okay to miss those. We just need to really work on those short putts. How are we going to work on those short putts? Well, the first drill we're going to talk about is to take your putter and put 3 feet. We put a tee down, and your putter's about 3 feet long. 3 feet, another tee, and then from the grip is normally about 2 feet, so we'll say that's 8. So we got 3, 6, 8 drill here. We can put a ball at all these places, and it's a ladder drill. We're going to go ahead and putt this. We're going to try to make 5, 3, and 1 in succession without missing. If we ever miss, we have to restart. So as we do this drill, we're going to notice that we get to hit a lot of 3-footers, and those are so important as you start to get into tournament situations, being able to hit those short putts right. The next drill I want to look at is north, south, east, west. So we take balls and we put them at around that 5-foot range around a hole. Well, a professional from 5 feet is around 80%. So we're going to go ahead and assume that we can make 3 out of 4 of these. We're going to do that till we pass the test. So we're going to hit a uphill putt, a downhill putt, left to right and right to left, and we get a good barometer of how we're going to hit all these putts. Another good way to practice. The last thing we're going to talk about is what I see on a day-to-day basis most commonly incorrect. First thing we're going to talk about is people that putt and then they move their body and follow the putt. Most people aren't very good at just hitting a putt and having their head follow the ball. Normally their body wants to follow it. So if I set up and I hit this putt, you haven't seen any pressure shift in my feet. You really haven't seen a whole lot of mid-body turn. It's just rocking the shoulders and staying very still. That would be the first thing I see all too often. So if you need to make sure that you look at the hole, you make a picture in your brain of where you're going, and then you come back and you putt to the pitcher in your head, to keep your head down and nice and still until that ball is completely gone, that might help you fix that. Now, the next thing I see all too often is here in the South where we have Bermuda greens, people not understanding what grain is. So grain is always, most always going to grow with the slope. A lot of times, if you can go to the cup and you can kind of notice one part of the cup a little bit more beat up than the other, you know that's where the grain is flowing. If I poured water, it's going to flow down that grain. So you can kind of always come and take a look at the cup. If it's slightly already beat up on one side, that's where the grain is going. That's the fall line, and everything's going to break towards that. Now, another way to try to see grain would be to look at the grass, and if it's shinier, it's down grain. If it's a more dull green color, you're into the green. Um, and grain changes throughout a green. It's not always to the what I hear setting sun or to the water next to the green. That's not always true. You can feel the green and try to feel where it's at. As I look at this, I know the grain, I can see the hole kind of beat up right here. It's going that way, so it's going to be nice and smooth versus this way where it's growing that way. It's not so smooth. It's growing down grain. I hope you enjoyed these kind of tips, and I look forward to next week. Thank you for watching.